I usually remember nothing. I can't keep track of anything. If I go get a glass of water and my wife says, get me one too, I come back with one glass of water. And then she says, where's my water? And I say, this one's for you. Now I'll go back and get the one for me because I forgot. So I want you to think back, which is a long time and very complicated, before Siri. I want to tell you how much I love Siri because she reminds me of everything. Because the second I think of something that I need, I ask her to remind me, and she does, which is really lovely for me because I forget everything. And then I also have acquired in the last few months an Apple Watch, which is now attached to my body and will buzz and remind me to do stuff. And sometimes I surprise myself and think, I was smart to remind myself to do that because I was not going to remember, but now I do. So I want to talk to you about reminders. So how many people use some kind of an automated or clever system to remind themselves of something? How many people just write it down? And then how many people, when you write it down, it just sticks because you wrote it down? Yeah, less hands for the second half, right? Good, okay. Anyone do anything particular? Like, do you do something like to like a piece of jewelry, or do you put something in your pocket or something to remind you? Do you use any sort of device to help you other than electronic? Or good. So my wife, pre-Siri, used to move a ring to her thumb. And then she would know that when she looked at her thumb, she'd be like, oh, I'm supposed to remember. But sometimes she'd be like, I can't remember what I was supposed to remember. But I was supposed to remember something. But now there's Siri to remind us of certain things. Siri. Sarah, Siri, you can have her talk however you want. So British, Australian, my wife is Australian. She says, turn left on Greenway. So it's great. It makes me feel like I'm down under while I'm just driving in Scottsdale. So reminders are very important to us. And I would say that this week's Torah portion is a very, very huge reminder. Actually, it's a huge reminder, and it is a double portion. So it's Tazria and Metzorah mashed together, which for our bar mitzvah boy, when we sat down together, I told him, you won. This is the most difficult Torah portion for any boy or girl to have as they become bar bat mitzvah, because it begins with childbirth, with 13-year-old boys loving to talk about, menstruation, blood, and then it transitions into another interesting section of stuff that talks about skin disease, open, oozing sores, itching, and discoloration of different parts of your skin. Super winner for the 13 and 12-year-old B'nai Mitzvah who think to themselves, why couldn't I be talking about Joseph and his coat? Why did I choose the short straw of the skin disease and menstruation? Yay! So this week's Torah portions do this to us. And it talks about, so one's called Tazria, one's called Metzorah. If you listen to the roots of them, they're about the same. Tazria, Metzorah, they have the same root. And they lend themselves to everything that we talked about. And the easiest translation of it is, which we'll talk about a little bit, is that it's a physical manifestation of how we speak, actually. So that thing on the playground when we said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me, we all know that's actually not true. And this Torah portion makes it so. Because what you say can be devastating, and the Torah portion actually, allegedly, if you go with it, is actually physically going to manifest onto you if you speak badly of someone. So if you speak badly, you might get tzara'at, which is, you hear in Metzorah, tzara'at. that could be the oozing, seeping, scaly, itchy, something that happens to your body. Then what happens, thank you, discoloration, I forgot that one. Discharge, good one, excellent. Yes, also this week's Torah portion. I see some of the scrunching faces now, and some of this. Oh, yeah. This is just the beginning of the next 45 minutes of me talking about this. So it's this discoloration, and what's nice also is sometimes it's hairy also. So it's really, really uncomfortable. So some people are waving. Uncle, end it. It's just starting. So I just want to let you know that this is the it was the white flag. So waving the white flag in the back. Just think of Harrison. The poor guy has to talk about this tomorrow, and he has props and ointments he's bringing out and sprays. It's going to be something tomorrow. You should show up with the surgical gloves, and everyone's getting examined. It's going to be something. So but we didn't have the advancements. There was no CVS, there was no Walgreens, and so the high priest had to come and diagnose your ailment. And he would come and he would say, all right, you have tzara'at. You probably spoke badly of someone. You have tzara'at. And the best thing they could do was isolate you. So you were isolated from your family, from your tribe, and you had to stay there until you were all cleaned up, essentially. Until all the sores healed up and the seeping and the oozing. And so they also, on top of the seeping and the oozing, and on top of the fact that you had to be isolated, you had to shave all the hair off of your body, because they figured that the hair might also be contributing to the contamination. I'm getting some scrunchy faces. I like the scrunchy faces about this. And so listen to the clever connection that they make here. So you had to shave your head if you were being haughty. We know what haughty means. Like you're too much of yourself. Yeah. So you had to shave your head because you thought that you were like great. So you have to shave your head for that. You had to shave your beard if you spoke badly of someone, because your beard is sort of around your mouth. So you have to shave all your beard. And then you have to shave your eyebrows, by the way, because it's close to your eyes. And if you were coveting or envious of someone, and particularly spoke about it to them, you have to shave your eyebrows, because those are the things that are closest to your eyes. So funny people walking around, all shaved, oozing and seeping everywhere, with discharge. So,
what color is the discharge exactly?
We'll do colors of discharge in the second half of the conversation. That's at the oneg. We'll do that. There's no oneg. You're saved. Okay. So not only that, but there were all these sacrifices you had to make, and so you had to have these birds. Some birds were dead and sacrificed, and some were actually left alive, and the birds were there because they were chirping at you the whole time, day and night, because the chirping was supposed to remind you of your transgression. So it was all set up for you to sort of be shaved, oozing, and chirped at if you were transgressing. And so it's funny, but think about the horror of it. And by the way, you're also isolated. So you don't see your family. It could be however long it takes for you to heal, because they didn't want it to spread into the different tribes. So it's a really, really complicated, very, very complicated idea. And so what the rabbis would say is to think this way. Think that you have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 2 hands, but only 1 mouth. So if you think about that, you have to be much more careful about what you say, because your hands are powerful, but you have 2 of them. Your eyes can see in 2 different ways. Your ears can hear in 2 different ways. But your mouth, the one mouth that you have, can cause a lot of damage. Because when you speak badly of someone, the rabbis say, you broke so many relationships in that moment of speaking badly of someone. Because if you were gossiping, the person that you're speaking to about the gossip, you've ruined them. Because now they're going to think badly about someone else. You've also ruined any future relationship that they could possibly have in the future. Because if you tell them, you know that girl, blah, 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 when they meet her, they'll automatically have the sort of pre-thought that, ooh, she's terrible or awful or whatever it is that you said. And so it destroys the relationships all around you. Summer camp, actually, I tried this working at a summer camp, not at Camp Stein, but when I was in rabbinic school in Los Angeles, that this idea is that you cut open a pillow and you open the pillow up and you shake out the entire pillow with all the feathers everywhere, and then you tell all the campers to go and collect every single feather, because that's what Lashon Hara does. When you say something bad of someone, it spreads like feathers. And it's almost impossible to collect every single feather if you open up one single pillow, just one pillow, not 5 pillows or 10 pillows, because you can't go back and find it. Once it's out, it's out. The other example is with a tube of toothpaste. Once you squeeze the toothpaste, you can't put it back in. And so what you say that comes out of what we say, what you say, what I say, what we say come out of our mouths can cause a lot of damage. And that's where the rabbis wanted us to remind us that you can get the skin disease and the oozing if you speak badly. Think about that. Think about if you spoke badly of someone and you had a physical reaction to it. That might actually stop us from some of the... No one here gossips, clearly. No one in the room. But hypothetically, right, that we would have this physical thing. And what was the way to fix it? Besides the isolation and besides the shaving and besides all that stuff, you had to baby bathe in water. And thus is born the idea of a mikvah. Because the mikvah, which we have here, if you didn't notice when you came in, you'll now notice when you walk out, on the left side, there is a mikvah. And the job of the mikvah is to transition us from one state to another, from a state of impurity, not impurity like we're dirty, but spiritual, soul impurity, into purity. And so we have a tool for this. The Jewish people have built a tool for us to help us transition from sort of the impurity of what we say, perhaps, and maybe our actions that we have, to a state of purity, because it's a physical reminder that we can switch over and we can transition. But the rabbis want to remind you of this metzorah, this danger of having a physical ailment happen if you speak badly of someone else, because you can't ever take it back, no matter how hard you try. And particularly if it's really bad, sometimes it's impossible to take back. And so we have to be mindful with the one mouth of what we're saying. And so the mikvah is impervious, because there's this great phrase in the Mishnah that says, Lo mekabel tum'ah. The mikvah cannot be impure. So it's firm. So when you go in and out of it, it doesn't take on any impurity. But we do. And so our job is to figure out a way to not get the metzorah. Bless you. To not get the metzorah, to be able to find ways in our lives to think about before we use the one mouth, and not think that, oh, sticks and stones, but no, the words do hurt, and they are very painful. And so back to the reminders. This is God's reminder. God says to the people, the Israelites finally are sitting down. They're not traveling. They're sitting in the book of Leviticus, and maybe gossip is starting. And God says, no. It's a reminder for us to be holy. It's a reminder to think before we speak, because sometimes it's painful. We don't have the Apple Watch to snap at us, or Siri, every time we might inadvertently say something we shouldn't have said. We don't have that. So we have to do it ourselves. And that's what the Torah portion this week tries to tell us. So it's a reminder that we need to find these transitions where we sort of can move away from the haughtiness, from Lashon Hara, from being envious. And we have to watch for these reminders in our lives. Siri is the one that's mundane. It's easy. But on this Shabbat, I invite all of us to look for the reminders in our lives that not only bring sort of purity to our bodies, like a mikvah, but bring purity to our hearts and to our souls as well. Shabbat Shalom.